Hey everybody, so I'm back again with another recap of 90 Day Fiance Happily Ever After. This was episode 4, so I feel like we're moving right along in this season and they're still leaving us on these cliffhangers. There's still a lot of things that we saw in the previews that we haven't seen yet, and I'm so ready to get to all of them, so hopefully next week a lot of good stuff happens. But let's get right into the recap for this week's episode. So first I'm going to start with Russ and Paula. So basically we started out this episode with Russ and Paula where Paula is going to see her friend Juan. And so, of course, we know that Juan does not care for Russ. He thinks that Russ took Paula to America, took his friend away, and that, you know, he's holding her there against her will, and that she's miserable there, and that she's really just changed her whole personality and her whole life for Russ, and he just doesn't care for Russ at all. Which is all fine and good. Juan is, you know, he can have his own opinions of Russ. I'm not saying that he has to like Russ. But Pal should force the issue that Juan respect Russ. So of course Juan is always saying little slick comments talking about Russ to his face and to Pal. And I think that Pal is not doing a good job of shutting this down. Your husband and your friends don't necessarily have to like each other, but what we're not going to do is disrespect my husband to my face anytime I come hang out with you. Pal needs to go ahead and shut this down right now. Go ahead and let Juan know that, hey, when we hang out, you're not going to talk crap about my husband. You're not going to say anything disrespectful about him to me or to him, or we can't be friends. And that's the end of it. This is your husband. This is your spouse. This is the man that you're trying to spend the rest of your life with. And he comes before anybody. I'm sorry. At this point, he comes before all your friends. He comes even before your family, because that bond as husband and wife supersedes parents, brothers, sisters, everything. He has to come first. And Paola's not doing a good job of letting Juan know that, hey, I don't need you to like him, but you will respect him. What we're not going to do is sit up and talk crap about my husband. We can talk about whatever else you want, but you're not about to talk about my man. And she needs to go ahead and shut that down now. The reason why she's not shutting it down is frankly because she needs the drama for her storyline. She knows that her friend Juan stirring the pot is something that makes her look good on TV, and it drums up the drama. And that's what she needs to stay relevant on this show. So Paula is basking in it because she's stuck on herself, and she frankly likes the attention. She likes the fact that Juan and Russ don't like each other and are arguing and fighting over her. She loves it. She's smiling the whole time. She's really trying to put her foot down a little bit, but not for real. It's all fake because she really likes the drama for the show. After Juan and Paula have their little alone time together, somehow she convinces Russ to go out with Juan all together in a group. This was a bad idea. I thought that Russ should have been like, no, I'm not going. But of course, he knew he had to go, just like Pedro knew he had to go on that trip to hell to the cabins, because it's all for the show. It's for drama. It's for their storyline. He put up a little bit of a fight saying that he didn't want to hang out with Juan. He didn't want anything to do with him. He doesn't want to see him. But of course, he caves and gives in because he kind of has to. They're on a TV show. So they go to this little club that supposedly Juan and Paula used to hang out with all the time in their heyday. And, you know, Russ and Paula get there first, and they're having drinks, and they're just talking about, you know, how the night's gonna go. You know, Paula promises that if anything goes down and Russ decides to leave, that she will go with him, because the last time that happened, she didn't walk out with him. She stayed there with Juan, and that hurt Russ's feelings, and she was wrong for that. Russ is a little weak. You know, he's very vanilla white bread, no seasoning on the chicken. He's just not somebody that you would call intimidating. He tries to kind of buck up a little bit sometimes, but it's just almost laughable. You can't take him seriously. He's not intimidating at all. So he tries this pitiful attempt to be an alpha male, probably the first time he's ever tried to be an alpha male in his life. And when Juan gets there, he stands up to shake his hand and kind of, you know, dap him up when he gets there. And he basically whispers in his ear, hey, don't ruin tonight. Don't act the fool. We're here for Pal. Let's be cool. And to me, you know, there wasn't any need to say that, because now it's just going to make Juan want to act the fool even more. I like when you tell your kids, hey, stop, don't do that, and then it just makes them want to do it more. That's exactly what Juan's going to do. So it's like he opened Pandora's box. Now Juan, his energy's all off now because he feels like he was being attacked by Russ. And Russ was slyway kind of coming at him. I get that he kind of meant it in a way to kind of get him in check, but that's not your place. You don't have to get him in check. Just be cool and he'll be cool. You know, it could have all went fine and dandy if he had just, you know, played his cards right, just not said much, just sit there and be there for his wife like he said he was going to be. But no, he had to come at this man before he even sat down at the table. And so now, of course, all the drama begins. So Juan is, you know, of course, smiling in Russ's face, that fake smile that he always has. He's flipping him off, rubbing his forehead, and then Russ has to tattle to the teacher that Juan flipped him off, and Paula didn't know what to do, so she's like, hey, behave, because they're acting like two children that they are. And Paola is just eating this up, honestly, y'all. She is loving every minute of it. She loves that Russ and Juan are fighting over her. She loves that man versus man just battle for her heart. And she tries to feign like she can't make a decision. She doesn't know what to do. Finally, her and Juan get up and go to the bathroom. Russ acting like he don't want to let her go to the bathroom with the man. I don't know what he thought they were going to do in the bathroom, if he was going to brainwash her and convince her to, you know, pick his side. I don't know, but Russ just feels really threatened right now. He's not in a good headspace. He needs to go on back to the hotel room. From the bathroom, and they're still going back and forth. And so finally, Russ just gets mad. He's just sick of Juan's crap. And he gets up and says, we're leaving. And so, of course, Pal is acting like she's torn between this big decision. Do I choose my best friend or do I choose my husband? I don't know what to do. Girl, stop it. You are relishing all this. You loving the attention. She was eating it up. So, you know, she sits there and Russ is like, what are you doing? Let's go. Like, I already told you back in the hotel room, if anything popped off and I was leaving, you leaving with me. And she said she promised she would, but now she's sitting there looking stupid, acting like she can't decide between her best friend and her husband. Girl, you always choose your husband. That's your man. But of course, she has to make it dramatic for the TV show. Finally, they, you know, start walking outside. And of course, Juan's walking out with them, and then Russ and Juan are exchanging words. And it's the build up to the fight, or I don't even know if you call that a fight. It was a tussle, or probably a little shove, because I don't really see Russ fighting anybody, honestly. I see, even a gay man, I don't see Russ beating him up too bad, even if he was to win the fight. Russ tries to be strong and tough and intimidating. Like I said, he tried to portray that alpha male image, but it's just a joke. He's a joke. I don't take him seriously. His voice don't even get deep enough to scare anybody. So it leaves it at that, you know, it kind of leaves it hanging. So I guess next week we'll see their little fight. But really, it's just a show for the ratings. I mean, they're really just doing this because they have nothing else to show us. They have nothing else going on. Their storyline's boring, so they have to create drama by bringing Juan in. I'm tired of seeing Juan. I'm tired of this whole storyline. I'm tired of Pal being so stuck on herself that she couldn't even call a family, that she got to have these two men fighting over her, and she's just loving all the attention. I'm just tired of them too. This storyline is tired. Juan can go, but that's the only thing they got left, so they got to keep him around. That's why she brought him back on. I mean, whatever. I really don't have much else to say. We'll see what happens next week with their fight. But yeah, Paola just seems really, really like a high school girl right now, like having these boys fight over her and not really looking truly genuine like she's concerned. Because if she was really concerned, she would have been left with her husband. She would have already chose her husband the first time. But she keeps going back and forth because she likes the drama, because she's literally a mean girl like from the movies. I mean, she's ugh. Anyway, let's move on to the next couple. Okay, so next is Jorge and Anfisa. So this week, Jorge and Anfisa went to go visit a therapist. So they drive up to the therapist's office, and, you know, there's a parking lot full of parking spaces, but for some reason, George wanted to pull up next to the bushes, and Anfisa's like, how am I going to get out the car? You know, pull me up next to these bushes. So George goes and opens the door for her as if that's going to make the bushes go away. I'm like, why did he park next to those bushes? It was parking spaces everywhere in that parking lot. I don't know if y'all noticed that. Parking lot was empty. There was nobody else there. I don't know why he parked her next to these bushes. I don't know if he's just an idiot or if it was his passive aggressive way because he didn't really want to go see the therapist. I don't know. George is in the shiesty basket with Louise at this point. Every week, it's like he goes up and down in my head. Like last week, he kind of went up when he planned a little salsa date. This week, he dropped way down. They go on this little therapist trip, and the therapist is asking them questions about, you know, what's the problem, what's going on in y'all's relationship. George acts like he doesn't know, like he has no idea. And Anfisa's like, what do you mean you have no idea what's wrong? Like, you talk crap about me to your family when I'm not around. And he tries to lie and say that he doesn't. But he was just at a lawyer's office with his sister trying to see how he could divorce Anfisa. So I don't really believe that him and his family aren't talking about, like, Anfisa's not the topic of discussion when he's alone with his family or talking to his family. It's impossible. His sister can't stand Anfisa. So you can't tell me that her name does not come up in the conversation and that it's not something negative. And I don't really see George defending her that hard because George is a people pleaser. George is that guy who wants to say whatever he needs to say in the moment to make whoever it is happy. He will tell a lie. He will tell a half-truth. He will say whatever it is. He's just sneaky like that. I mean, that's how he does. So if he's talking to his family and Anfisa's name comes up, and of course they're going to start talking bad about her, I don't really see him going hard and being like, hey, don't talk about my wife, blah, blah, blah. Because we see what he does when he, you know, gets by himself or when he gets mad. Obviously, he spilled the beans about her being the webcam girl. So George is a liar. George has a lying problem. Of course, we saw his first lies was when he had told her that he was a millionaire and he really wasn't and was spending all this money. So now Anfisa's antenna are up all the time when it comes to George, and she's always looking for the lie because he always telling one. Basically, Anfisa breaks down and starts crying because she's talking about how alone she is here and how George basically has said that he feels like she should be grateful to be, or this is what Anfisa feels that George is saying, that she should just be grateful to be in America, that he brought her from Russia out of a bad situation, whatever that was, here, and that she should just be happy because she's here. But she's like, that's not enough. Of course I want my money and my, honestly, I don't think that Anfisa would be crying these tears and I'm not saying that Anfisa's not truly hurting. I did kind of see a softer side of Anfisa this week, and I do think that she is lonely here in America. I think that she does want more out of her marriage with George. I really do think that. But I think if she could dry her tears with $100 bills, that she probably wouldn't be as depressed and sad and lonely. I think that if George had the coin that he said he had when he first got her, that she would not be sad and upset. She would not be angry. She probably wouldn't care so much that he didn't tell the truth all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think it would bother her as much if George had the coin to back up what he said he had in the beginning. I don't think that they would even be in this therapist's office. I don't think they would be having these problems because of course, she would have the money to make her happy. He would be buying her shoes and clothes and bags and makeup and everything she wanted. So I think that a lot of this sorrow that she has comes from him letting her down. He let her down. She thought she was going to come over here and live this luxurious life. And so not only is she not luxuriating, she's also got this man who's not even trying to make her happy despite the fact that he doesn't have money. So she's like, okay, I found out you didn't have money. I was mad, but now I'm willing to give you a chance even without the money, and you're still not doing what you need to do. So, like, what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to just sit here and be broke and unhappy? Like, no, I can only do one of the two. I can't be broke and unhappy. Either I need to have money and be unhappy, or I need to be happy and we can be a little bit broke, but not both. So I kind of see where Anfisa's coming from a little bit, even though I do think that all this could go away if George could produce the funds. Afterwards, they interview George outside. The producers are asking him questions about what the therapist said and what he thought about how his actions have affected Anfisa. And George basically wasn't listening. None of the therapist said, y'all know I already said George is a weed head. I think George smokes weed. I think George smoked more of his product than he sold, and that's why he's broke now. George couldn't even remember what the therapist said. He tried to make something up, but then at the end, he just ended up laughing and be like, you know what? I don't even remember. I'm not even going to try to act like I remember what that man told me. He didn't remember a word the therapist said. He looked like he had smoked a blunt before he went in there. The weed has affected his memory. It's gone now. He could barely grasp what the therapist told him in the session. So of course they're riding back in the car, and now Anfisa's like, maybe you need to have your own therapy sessions because you got a lying problem and you got issues of your own, and I can't deal with them by myself. Like, you need your own help. And I really do think George might need to go talk to somebody, but he's not going to. It's not going to happen, Anfisa. It's just a ticking clock to when Anfisa leaves George. That's basically what's happening here. She's trying to give him another chance, but basically I think George is just going to screw it all up and they're going to end up breaking up. I think Anfisa's going to end up leaving George. Like I said, him going to those lawyers was a stunt. George does not want to leave Anfisa. He wants to keep that model body around the house. But Anfisa's going to get fed up with George's BS after a while, and she's going to end up leaving him. Mark my words. But that was it for them. Let's move on to the next couple. Next is David and Annie. So this episode, we really didn't see a lot of David and Annie. Actually, we didn't see Annie. The only thing we really saw was David going to dinner with his daughter, Ashley. So David and Ashley go to this little diner and they sit down and they have dinner. And they're basically talking about everything that happened with Jacob and their relationship. And Ashley's trying to give her dad a chance, and I give her that. I mean, girl, kudos to you. This man basically abandoned y'all. He hasn't really been a father. He hasn't really even been contacting you, but she's still trying to give him a chance. David is one of those people who does not want to accept the blame. He doesn't want to accept the fact that his decisions have effed up his whole entire life. He wants to try to put the blame on everybody else. So meanwhile, Ashley's trying to tell David how hurt she is that her father has not contacted her, has not been there for her. He dipped off to Thailand for years, and even he's been back for like 6 months and still doesn't even call her kids and call her. And David tries to put the blame on everybody but David. He puts the blame on Annie, saying that, well, Annie's not comfortable around you. You and Annie don't get along. So that kind of made me leery of, hanging out with you and the kids. But my thing is, You're a grown man. You have that raggedy car that Chris gave you. So why can't you drive yourself over there to see your daughter and your grandkids without Annie? If Annie's uncomfortable around Ashley, that's fine. You and Annie are attached at the hip. Good Lord knows you couldn't take any more weight on those knees. So why don't you go over there and see your grandkids yourself? Or why don't you pick up the phone and call your daughter yourself? He's not making any attempts to try to mend this relationship. And he's just throwing all the blame on Annie, as if Annie's telling him that he can't call her or he can't go see her. I don't think that Annie's saying that. I know that Annie and Ashley don't like each other, but that doesn't stop him from having a relationship with his daughter. He can have a relationship with his daughter outside of Annie. So Ashley's still trying to just make him see like, hey, this is how I feel. And he's basically just throwing her feelings out the window and is like basically saying, oh, your feelings don't matter. So Ashley starts to get upset. She starts to get her purse. And David just keeps going in, and he's not being empathetic. He's not looking at it from her point of view. He's not seeing it as the little girl, which she really is on the inside. The little girl who basically just wants her daddy. I mean, that's what every little girl wants. I mean, you ask anybody who didn't grow up with a dad, every little girl wants their daddy. And the fact that her dad is in the same city as them and is not even calling them, not even coming by to see them, like, she's hurt, and I can see the hurt. Even though I don't really care for Ashley that much either, but I see where she's coming from. And David just will not acknowledge that it is his fault, that he's at fault here. You know, he's the master manipulator. He's always trying to twist things into his favor, make himself look like the victim. And that's exactly what he was doing with Ashley, and Ashley was not here for it. She almost left. She almost dipped out on the dinner, but she stayed, and they kind of talked it out and worked through it. And basically, David kind of said that he would try. I don't believe him for a second. I think David is just like Louise, and he's just like George. He says whatever he needs to say in the moment to get out of it so that he doesn't have to do anything else, and then he's just going to continue doing what he wants to do. I don't think he's going to make an effort at all to spend time with Ashley and her kids. I don't think he's going to change at all. I think he just does what he needs to do in the moment to get people off his back, just like when Annie almost left him the day before their wedding, and he was crying those crocodile tears that didn't exist in that little restaurant. He manipulates situations and says whatever he needs to say in the moment to get out of it when somebody's coming at him hard, like Ashley was with those eyebrows. I don't believe David for a second. I think it's just some BS. It's sad that he doesn't even want to try to be a father to his kids at this point. She's trying to give him another chance, even though she's good and grown. She still wants that relationship with her dad, and he's just not going to do it, just like he's not going to find a job, and just like he's not going to pay that dowry back. But that's pretty much it for Annie and David, or should I say David and Ashley, because we didn't see Annie this week. So let's move on to the next couple. Alright, so next we're going on to Pedro and Chantal. So Pedro and Chantal are still on this vacation. I feel like we've been on this vacation for about a month. It was only 4 days, but they dragged it off about 5 episodes. Pedro and Chantal are sitting down in the living room. Chantal has her 24-inch Indian Remy eyelashes on again. And then her family, her mom and dad, come down the steps. And her dad and his Stepford husband, robotic voice, tells Pedro that he wants to talk about the Dominican Republic again. I mean, that horse died 2 seasons ago and we still beating it. Pedro looks at him and he's like, no, Thomas, no. I don't want to talk about this no more. We don't need to talk about it. Me and Chantal talked about it and we're good. But of course, Mother Chantal and Father Chantal are not satisfied. They seriously think that Pedro's mom Lydia is running some kind of marriage ring. So Lydia is actually a lawyer. I did not know this until this episode, but Lydia is a lawyer, and we also found out that she specifically does visas. So the main bulk of her work that she does is trying to get people from the Dominican Republic visas so that they can get to America. She somehow is involved in the paperwork and the process for them getting visas to come to America. That gives Chantal's family the ammunition that they need to run with this story that they have concocted in their heads, and that is that Pedro's family is running some kind of marriage ring to get people into the United States. Now, I said before, I don't necessarily think that Pedro's intentions were pure. I think that Pedro does love Chantal. Let me just say that. I think that Chantal and Pedro actually do love each other. I do think that it was Pedro's intent to get to the United States by any means necessary. I think Pedro's family planned for Pedro to be the child who would go to America, somehow get there, get a job so that he can help support the family. I do think that was the plan. And when he met Chantal, it was like, fate. It was perfect. He met this girl. He liked her. She's cute. He marries her. He gets a green card so he can work, make a little more money, send money home, start whatever business it is that they want to start. They still haven't told us what the business is, and I'm still a little leery of that, but I'm kind of team Pedro right now, so I'm willing to put the fact that he hasn't said what the family business is aside, because I'm coming for Family Chantel right now. That's what I think Pedro's plan was to get to America somehow, and it just so happened that he met Chantal and it just worked out. That's what I really think. Do I think that his mom is running some kind of marriage ring? No. It doesn't really make any sense. The fact that she could possibly run a marriage ring, what would it benefit her? I mean, is she going to take a cut? So every person that she helps get a visa that comes to the United States, are they going to send her like a cut of whatever money they make? Because the whole point for people getting to the United States is for them to help their family. So she might be helping people get visas to go to the United States to help their family. I'm sure she is. Pedro admitted himself that a lot of people from the Dominican Republic get married for a year or two and then they get divorced and they get a green card. I mean, yeah, that's what a lot of foreign people do. The fact that Pedro said that to me wasn't really that incriminating, because that's information we already know. We already know they do this. Look at Louise. Louise doing the same thing. He's from the same country. A lot of people are doing that from other countries. They try to marry Americans online. Look at Azan. I mean, it happens all the time. This is common knowledge. At this point, I think that Family Chantal and Pedro are lost in translation. They don't know what each other's saying, and everything that Pedro says gets taken out of context because Pedro really can't speak English. I don't know what kind of teacher Chantal was, but she ain't teaching very well because he still struggles with forming sentences correctly and explaining himself in English correctly. And of course, Family Chantal is a little bit slow. Y'all know they got the helmets on. And so they're not really understanding what he's saying, and he's not understanding what they're saying. He's trying to explain what his mom does. He says, no, she helps people, there are people who scam and marry people to get the green card, but my mom doesn't do that. And somehow Mother Chantal heard my mom does do that. And Chantal's trying to explain and Pedro's trying to explain, like, no, my family doesn't do this, but they're not hearing any of it. So it ends the conversation with them saying that they're going to get a private investigator to investigate his family. And Pedro is dumbstruck. Pedro is like laughing. He's like, oh my God, this is funny. This is a joke, right? And they're like, no, we're dead serious. We are getting an investigator to investigate your family to see what's going on in the DR. And Pedro just can't take anymore. He gets up and storms off, and they're like, no, we need to talk about it. But I'm like, stop talking. We don't need to talk about nothing else. I'm tired of y'all talking. He tired of y'all talking. Chantel tired of y'all talking. Everybody tired of y'all talking. We don't want to talk about the DR no more. We don't want to talk about these people scamming people. This girl done married this boy. It's over with. If they want to harvest her dollars, let them harvest it. She done married him. I mean, the fact that they're trying to protect her is noble because it is their daughter and they want her to be safe and they don't want her to get scammed. But my thing is, she's already married him. They've been married for over a year. If she's gonna get scammed, she's already gotten scammed. It's not like Nicole and Azan where her mom's trying to prevent it. It's done deal. And she seems to love him and he seems to love her. So I say, just let her be grown and mind your business. If it plays out that she gets scammed, okay, we're sorry. We'll be here for you when the pieces all fall, but we don't need to talk about it anymore. I think Family Chantal needs to drop it, let it go, let Pedro and Chantal live their life. If it turns out that he's scamming her, that's awful, that's terrible, but she's a grown woman that can make her own decisions. Let it go. Jesus, let it go. And later, they're having this like little amazing dinner. It looked kind of good. I mean, I saw the asparagus wrapped in bacon. I was like, okay, Chantal might know how to whip it in the kitchen. And then they had these little pheasants or Cornish game hens. I don't know what they were, but them little chickens look good. I was like, okay, we eat good on the last night of vacation. They're all sitting around the table and everything's all fine for now. Chantal's explaining that she cooked the rice and the beans because she wanted Pedro to have something that was, that he's used to eating. So I thought that was real cute. She's trying to be there for her man. Go ahead, girl. And so then, of course, the cute little family bubble bursts as River, of course, has to say something. He brings up something else again that we need to let die. The horse has died and we're just picking up the stick to beat it again. He says, I heard that you were planning on leaving Chantal and going back to the Dominican Republic. Because of course now River thinks that he called it in the Dominican Republic when he said they had 3 bedrooms and that the extra bedroom was for Pedro to come back after he leaves Chantal. Now, this whole leaving Chantal thing, I don't necessarily know about that. I think it would be silly for Pedro to leave Chantal to go back to the Dominican Republic to stay, because wasn't the whole point for him to get to the United States so he could harvest the American dollar? So if he's trying to harvest the American dollar, what would be the purpose of leaving his harvest and going back to the DR where he isn't going to make as much money? So I don't really get that why they think that they've hit the nail on the head with this whole he's going to go back to the DR. I mean, maybe that third room is for when he comes back for those 1 week, 2 week to help them with the business, and then he goes back. He can't leave the United States. That can't be a part of his plan, because that just doesn't make any sense. The whole purpose is for him to be here so that he can make money. So I'm not with the fact that he wants to leave permanently. I do think that he is here so that he can make money to send home. River says that he found out that, you know, Pedro's planning on leaving Chantal, and he feels like he called it right back a year ago, whenever that was, because he said that. And so Pedro, of course, immediately is like, oh my God, not this again. So he's like, what's your problem with me? Like, what is your problem? And River's like, I'm just asking questions. River is one of those kids that was on the playground that everybody hated. He probably never got picked to play kickball. He probably didn't have friends because he was always telling on folks to the teacher. He was probably a teacher's pet. He probably got beat up every day. His daddy never gave him a whooping. He's just so annoying. He's one of those people that just gets under your skin. Like, I just don't like him. The only thing I do like about him is his hair. I know people are talking about his hair, but those curls be popping, and I'm kind of jealous of it. Yeah, so Pedro's like, what's your problem with me, dude? And he's like, I'm just asking questions. And he's like, well, you're asking too many questions. It's basically none of your business. And that's true. Him and Chantel are grown. It's not none of River's business what his big sister and her husband are doing. He needs to mind his business and keep his little mouth shut before Pedro puts those paws on him, which I'm praying to sweet baby Jesus that he puts those paws on him next week, because I have waited long enough for that fight. Next is Louise and Molly. So this week, Molly was still on her business trip. That she was only gone for 2 days. Actually, I thought she was going to be gone a little longer, but she was only gone for 2 days. And so thank God she came to her senses at the end of the episode last week and called her mom and told her mom to go over there and care for Kinsley, because she didn't like Louise's vibe when she left. He was basically making jokes, talking about it was babysitting, acting like he didn't want anything to do with Kinsley, which he doesn't. And so she was like, Mom, go over there and take care of her. And her mom did, which thank the Lord, because they had a good old time. They were playing in the snow. They were making little ants on the log, or whatever that little snack is that kids eat with the celery and the peanut butter, and then they put the raisins on it. It's supposed to be the ants. Yeah, they were having a good old time with Grandma. And so Louise basically just stayed in his room the whole time. He wasn't really helping Grandma with Kinsley. I think Louise took it as when she called her mom to come over that was relieving him of his duties. Molly didn't really explain to Louise that, hey, Mom's just here to help you. She's not here to take over. But of course, what man isn't going to take advantage of when Grandma comes to keep the kids? Any man would have done that. If it was her actual husband, if it was actually Kinsley's father and her mom came over while she's out of town, he would have been up in his room watching TV too. So that, to me, I didn't really fault Louise for that. He took it as when she called her mom to come in as, hey, I don't have to watch her. Mom's here. And so, you know, they went out and played in the snow because Louise had never seen snow before, and it was pretty clear because he didn't even know how to dress properly. They gave him a little fur coat to put on, but he had on some Converse, and I'm like, those are going to be soaked straight through after playing in the snow for about 5 minutes. He said he didn't like it, which I can understand when you're used to sand and sun and beach. But anyway, so then later, Grandma and Kinsley FaceTime Molly just to see how things are going at the conference. And for some reason, when the screen pops up, Molly's dressed like a sexy Santa's elf. It was weird. I thought she looked crazy. I don't know, but apparently they were selling Christmas bras at the conference. He was asking about Louise, if he was helping out, if he was taking care of Kinsley, and Grandma's basically like, not so much. Which Molly seemed like she was disappointed, but I don't know why. We knew this. You called your mama to go over there for that exact purpose because you knew Louise was not going to act right. So why are we surprised? So Molly was a little bit disappointed because I think she was hoping that Louise would kind of step up and help, but I think deep down she knew. Later, Grandma actually goes to talk to Louise, and Louise basically tells her straight up, I don't want to be a stepdad. And I was like, thank God he finally just said it. I bet it feels good to get the truth off your chest, don't it, Louise? Because that's how he's felt this whole time. He doesn't like Kinsley. He says Kinsley always giving him attitude, saying, you're not my dad. You don't have to tell me what to do. Kinsley's wild. Molly's a pushover. She doesn't discipline her kids. And Louise can't discipline her either because it's not hers, but she's basically just disrespecting him to his face. So he's like, what am I supposed to do? I don't like hanging out with this kid. She clearly don't like hanging out with me. She's not respecting me as an adult in the home because she don't even take her mama seriously. So why would she take me seriously? Which is the exact reason why I don't date people with kids, because I don't have time. If I can't snatch somebody's child up, then I probably shouldn't be in the home with them. But I digress. And so then when Molly gets home, she basically has a serious sit down with Louise, looking him in his eye and basically telling him, I don't think you're happy here. I don't think that this is the life for you. And Louise is starting to look a little sad, which I don't think he was sad necessarily about losing Molly. I think he was sad about losing his ticket to America. I think he's realizing that what he tried to do with coming from this resort as a bartender and coming to America and meeting Vacation Molly, who was fun and happy-go-lucky and lively, and then coming home and having to be a house husband, is really starting to fall apart, and his plan didn't work. And so it's just a real sad scene. Like, I was just like, oh, it was just, oh, it made me feel bad, because I felt like Molly was really starting to realize that Louise doesn't want this. It's finally sinking in. It took long enough, but once she heard her mom tell her basically say he wasn't helping and he doesn't want to be a stepdad, I think that was basically the last nail in the coffin for Molly. And she's basically saying, I'm going to let you go, dude. I'm going to let you fly. This is not for you. You're not happy. I'm not happy. Louise was trying to say, well, when I try to touch you and hug you and all this stuff, like, you don't want to have anything to do with me. But the thing is, if you're not helping her with the things she needs help with, she's not going to be all that happy to be all kissed up and hugged up, Louise. Like, no. This relationship is quickly starting to implode. And it's really sad, but it's needed. It's something that's sad. I hate to see a couple break up, but it's necessary. This couple has been garbage since day one. This was a terrible idea for Molly to even bring him here to try to make him a father. So I'm happy that they're breaking up. It's just kind of hard to watch. It is sad because Molly did seem genuinely hurt. And Louise seemed like he was sad to be losing his meal ticket. But that was it for them. Let's move on to the last couple. So last is my girl, Nicole. I'm so excited, y'all. If you can't tell, I'm like buzzing with excitement to recap Nicole, because this was probably by far one of my favorite Nicole episodes. Like, she just brought it this week with between her family and the dress shopping. Oh, I was here for it. We started this episode with Nicole and May walking into this little restaurant. May still doesn't have her leash on. Girl, we hadn't seen that leash since Morocco. So May is loose, running around. And they sit down and they're going to eat lunch with Mimi and Pop, which is her mom and stepdad. And so they sit down, and May, child, she's sliding all up under the table and slipping and sliding down the chair like she's at Whitewaters. Finally, Nicole has to give her the iPad and the headphones so that she'll sit still so that she won't be sliding off under the table. She's talking to Mimi and Pop, and they're talking about Azan and the whole K3 visa and how she's going to go to Morocco and marry him there. Pop is not happy with this. Pop is not here for Nicole's BS at all. I'm starting to see why Robbie Lee married Pop, because Pop is on it. He is like my favorite person right now. I love him. He basically went in on Nicole, told the truth, didn't hold back. He's basically asking her questions about this Muslim wedding and like, well, you're marrying a Muslim, so does that mean you have to be Muslim now? Nicole's like trying to reassure them, no, I don't have to be Muslim to marry a Muslim. But he's like, but you are marrying in a Muslim country, which means you probably have to adhere to the Muslim customs, even though you might not profess to be a Muslim yourself. It's a Muslim country, which means you're going to have to obey their Muslim laws. He's trying to get through to Nicole. She's still in denial. Like, no, it's fine. I can still do what I want. Throwing Azan up against the walls and up and down the steps and, you know, cussing and trying to touch him in public and all that stuff that you can't do in Muslim countries. In the little confessional outside, honey, Robbie Lee and Pop was hugged up. Did y'all see that? Robbie Lee had her arm propped up on his shoulder. They were chest to chest. They were hugged up close. I said, these two people probably really in love. I thought she was just married because he looked a little older than her. I thought maybe she was married for security, but they seemed like they really actually like each other. It was kind of weird. They actually showed more affection than I've ever seen Nicole and Azan show, which is funny to me. But anyway, basically Pop says in the confessional that Nicole is ignorant, that she's a smart girl, which I didn't really agree with that because I don't think she's very smart. But he said Nicole's a smart girl, but she is ignorant. And, you know, he doesn't think that this is a good idea. He thinks it's stupid. He's trying to figure out what the exact dollar amount is that she sent Azan. He's trying to figure out why Azan doesn't have a job. I mean, he's asking all the hard questions. I need him to replace Sean Robinson in the tell-all at the end of the season. And because he asked the hard questions. He was not holding back. He wanted to know why Azan hadn't had a job. Nicole didn't have an answer. He wanted to know how much money she sent him. She didn't want to say. She was like, it's none of y'all's business. How much money I sent Azan. To me, that shows that she knows that there's like a little pang of guilt, or Nicole knows that Azan is probably scamming her deep down inside, but she wants him so bad she just doesn't want to admit it. The fact that she won't even talk about the fact that she's sending him money and he's not working lets me know that she knows there's something wrong with that. So Pop and Mimi go in on Nicole, and Nicole's basically trying to shut them up, and then finally in her confessional she says it's nobody's business what we did. She leaves it at that. And I'm like, okay, girl, whatever you say. But, you know, her parents are frantically trying to beg her, don't take May over there. Don't do this. This is a scam. We don't even know if he likes you. And she just doesn't want to listen to reason. She needs to be hog-tied and whipped. That's what she needs. She just needs a good old-fashioned out in the back behind the outhouse butt whooping with some switches. So then fast forward, Nicole and Robbie Lee are going dress shopping. So they roll up to this little boutique that was like Ring Bearer of the Cross, Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints or something. And so they go in, and first this lady, who I swear to God had to be Nicole's cousin, because she was talking in the same baby voice. I was like, I see why you picked this place. This girl is you. Like, they really reminded me of each other. Something about her baby voice and the deadness of her eyes. This lady creeped me out to all hell, but they were going to buy a dress from her. So she's asking about the budget and who's buying the dress today. And Nicole immediately looks at Robbie Lee, and Robbie Lee look back at her like, what? Nicole's like, oh, don't act like that. And Robbie Lee was like, don't act like what? Like, I don't even have my purse on me. What you talking about? I just came to drink champagne and watch you try on these dresses like a fool. So apparently they didn't even discuss it, but Nicole assumed that Robbie Lee was going to buy the dress, the American style dress, and I don't know who was going to buy the other 5 Moroccan style dresses. So apparently Nicole actually did go on Google and looked up how Moroccan wedding is done, and there are 6 dress changes. There's one in, I guess, where you're from, your traditional country's dress, and then there's 5 Moroccan style wardrobe changes that you have to do other than that one. I don't know who's buying the other 5. I don't know if Auntie's buying the other 5 or if Nicole's buying the other 5 dresses. I have no idea, but she didn't talk about it, but she apparently wants Robbie Lee to buy this dress. And Robbie Lee was like, I would have been like, no. Like, you better come up with those Starbucks funds. Like, you be sending $800 at a time to Azan. You better come up with $800 for this dress. I'm not buying nothing. I came here to sip champagne and watch you try on these dresses. I'm not buying nothing. But of course, Robbie Lee caves because, you know, she's a little bit of a pushover, and she says that she'll, well, she didn't really agree to pay for it, but Nicole kind of stiff arms her and throws out $2,000 as the budget, which to me seemed really high for somebody who lives in a closet mint. But she threw out $2,000 as the budget, and Robbie Lee didn't oppose, so they began trying on dresses. Dress number 1 is kind of like the shirt I'm wearing today, actually. It was like this kind of straps, and it was a deep V-neck. And the girls were out. I mean, titty number 1 and titty number 2 were definitely present to the party. This dress was bad. It was all wrong for Nicole's body type. She looked, actually the whole day Nicole looked uncomfortable. She looked like they had literally stuffed and rolled her into the dress. She looked like a pig in a blanket. It was bad. It was terrible. And you know what? I don't think there's anything wrong with big girls showing off their boobs, but not in this way. It was not attractive at all. She did not look good. So she comes out, Robbie Lee almost chokes on that little cup of champagne they gave her, honey. She was like, no, the girls are out way too much. This is not going to work in Morocco. I don't know where you think you're going in this dress, honey. This is not going to work, boo-boo. Nicole's just acting really bratty, telling her mom to stop saying that she doesn't look good. And she thinks she looks great and she likes the dress, but not a whole lot. So then she goes back in, they try on dress number 2. Dress number 2 is strapless with a sweetheart neckline, so it's a little bit dip in the cup. And this dress, y'all, I have no words. This dress, first of all, is way too small. And then even the wedding dress lady threw some shade because she had to call the other girl in there and was like, I need 4 hands for this. So they get together and somehow close that dress up and squeeze Nicole in it. Nicole cannot breathe. The girls are resting on her chin. She looked just a hot mess. They were spilling out of the front. And so Nicole just thinks she looks amazing, gorgeous, beautiful. She just can't stop seeing herself and turning in the mirror. And they tell her that, oh, well, when you put the corset on, then it will fit. No, ma'am. She had ham hocks and hog mogs spilling out of the back of it. Her boobs were pushed up all the way up her throat. She couldn't breathe. She looked uncomfortable. Corset's not going to fix that. The dress didn't fit. It was too small. Of course, they have to do alterations, but still. She looked a hot mess, and she was loving every minute of it. She loved this dress. She looked terrible. I was like, girl, so you really about to take the hog mogs and the pig's feet and all of the barbecue to Morocco? No, ma'am, we can't do that. We can't be looking like that. They tried to give her a little shawl because her mama was like, no, she's busty. We can't have all this out. She was like, no, I don't want the shawl. It's not going to make the dress look right. Oh my God, it was terrible. But she loved it. So then they jack her up. They bring out the veil. They bring out the jewelry. And they just put her hair up and put it on her. And she just is oohing and ahhing. And she just looked a hot mess. I was like, girl, no, not the ham hocks and the hog mogs. No, we need to put those up. We need to tuck them in. Like, they didn't even try to tuck the ham hock in, the ham hock that was back there. I was like, please put the barbecue meat away. But no, she just loved it. She thought she looked great. She thought she looked amazing. And that was the dress she bought. I couldn't believe it. The only good thing about that dress is that it was way under her budget that she threw out. It was like $7.99, which is still kind of pricey. I think like $500 is good for a wedding dress, but I might be being delusional, which I usually am. But $7.99 seemed like a good number, better than $2,000, so Robbie Lee was on board. So she walks out with dress in hand, so excited that she said yes to the dress. I was like, this what we really doing. So we about to take the hog mogs and the ham hocks to Morocco. Just out in the open. I don't know what's happening. But I already told y'all she not marrying Azan, so it don't matter. Azan ain't gonna never see that dress, so you know what? It really doesn't matter. I think it's cute that she got to have the experience. I hope she enjoyed it, because she'll never put that dress on again in front of people. Other than the alterations lady. That's the only other person that's gonna see her in that dress is the alterations lady and Robbie Lee. Azan will never see her in that dress. So it was a cute experience. I hope she enjoyed it, because she's not gonna marry Azan. She's probably not even gonna make it to Morocco. If she does make it over to Morocco with May and her leash, she won't be there long. I told you I'll give it 2 weeks. 2 weeks. That's all I give it. That was it for this episode. So a lot happened and there's still so much more to go. I'm so happy that the season is just rolling right on. Summer's going great. I hope you guys are enjoying it. Please leave me a comment, a like, a subscribe, whatever it is you want to do. Tell your friends all about this crazy show, about my recap, my channel, everything. I'd love to hear from you guys. Thanks to all my new subscribers. Welcome, and thank you so much for subscribing. If you'd like to live tweet with me during the show, follow me on Twitter at Nikki P Tweets. That's NICHI_P_tweets for all my crazy tweets live during the show. My first reactions to the foolishness that goes on. Also follow the hashtags 90dayfiance and hashtag 90dayfiance happily ever after for all the other crazy people who are my people who tweet during the show as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.